Welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen. It is time for Saturday Night Ride. I am your pilot, and you can call me Captain James. How about that? We'll go with that for now. But it's great to see you guys. I trust you can hear me okay. I'm now opening up the mic inside the cockpit, and tonight we have a new co-pilot who's just out of flight school. Pretty excited about that. Brad, are you here? Can you hear me? Over.
I am, Captain. Nice to be in the seat.
Right on.
Controls feel nice in my hands so far.
Great. Yeah, it's
I
great to
love
have
it.
you here. We seem to have undocked. Everything's been unmoored. Nothing's been tied. We haven't run over any birds or anything. So yeah, things
Yeah.
are looking pretty good. We'll see how
Well,
well the quality does. As you may know, we've been experiencing some strange anomalies in the bandwidth field lately when it comes to live streaming. So hopefully that won't happen with us tonight, because tonight we have a special guest, don't we, Brad?
we do indeed.
That's
Helping
right.
us dive into the topic of the Mayan calendar a little deeper than maybe we all have been avast by it before. I think we've all heard of it maybe around 2012 for some reason, but we're
Yeah.
going deeper tonight.
That's right. That's right. Lori is joining us tonight. She has prepared a few morsels that we're looking forward to getting into. And why don't we introduce Lori right now? Lori, are you there? Can you hear us? Welcome to the airship again.
Welcome, Lori.
I tell you what, it's so wonderful to be in this airship. The weather's really good up here, and Happy New Year.
That's right.
Happy New
Today
Year to
is
you.
the Happy New Year. This is the first day of the year of the seed, the sun seed. We left the year of the storm on July 24th, and
Wow.
the 25th was our day out of time. So I'm going to present like we're still out of time because we're delayed. This delay between the chat and the live and the
Yeah.
this, we're all out of time. So are you ready for me to begin?
Are you
I'm
kidding?
ready.
I am so set up. Let's do it,
Yes,
ladies and
ma'am.
gentlemen. Thank you, Lori. Thanks for being here.
Well, I just wanted to say, that was so long ago that Mayan end of the long count calendar, wasn't it? It was like, guess what? It was 13 years ago.
Right?
It was 13 years ago today. That's that's really significant because when you understand 12 and you understand 13, which we're going to talk about, it's super exciting. So, we're going to talk about the day out of time. We're going to talk about reclaiming the spiral from the predators of time to the dawn of the sixth sun. So, I'd like you to join me in an opening invocation. And in this beautiful Mayan greeting, I'm sure you all know it. It's In Lak'ech Ala K'in, and that means I am another you. So on this day at a time, I step outside of the clock. I return to the pulse beneath all pulses, the spiral, the wave, the rhythm of becoming. I call on the 13 moons and the 20 tribes, the memory of the stars inside my bones. Today I forgive the bindings of the time machine, and today I remember I am a fractal of the whole.
Mm, 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 mm. That is beautiful.
Nice.
I don't want to stop you, by the way, but damn, that was nice.
Yeah.
So today we're going to pretend like it was yesterday. So every day that you remember that July 25th, you're going to have this laid down for you. So what is the day at a time? July 20,
Indeed.
the July 25th is the 365th day of the dream spell calendar. It's a sacred pulse before the Galactic New Year, July 26th, started. So this author, Jose Aguiles, rooted in 13 moon 28 day timekeeping. So if you figured out that if we went for 28 days and we did 13 moons, we would have this one day that was at a time. So it's linked to the rise of the star Sirius. And it was the day, and it is the day for forgiveness, art, reflection, and cosmic realignment. So the Mayan calendar in 2012, it ended December 21st, 2012. It was 13 back tunes, 500, 125 years. It was a portal, not an apocalypse, a marking of a conscious shift. And in Jose's words, 2012 is the shift from mechanical time to natural time. And the choice was to go from 1260 linear time, so 12 would be 12 months and 60 minutes, to the 1320 harmonic time. Mm-hmm. So think about 13 moons and 20 digits. You can count to 20 on your toes and your fingers. Wow. So I'd just like to take a little moment and see if anyone has anything to comment about this kind of way of keeping time.
Is that a 12 system or
we're actually in a 12 system?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Gregorian.
And that's what I think is so magical about the Mayan calendar. That is that I couldn't find it addressed in anywhere else. That the 13th, that they're all based on 12, and I think there's an interesting reason for that. But that's to me, it's the very mystical side that we're cut off from, not including the 13th. Because I really think that that's the aspect of us that, I think that's why it's the day out of time. And you can tell me, more about that as far as that goes, Lori. But the idea of it, I think, from what I could tell, was a connection to that, the natural rhythm, which, again, is somewhat mystical in terms of the 12 count systems, correct? Because the 12 count systems are almost all logically based with none of the intuitive base, if you will, maybe.
Yeah, the Julian to Gregorian changed time.
Yeah, it did.
And we went, we had 12 apostles, right? But then what's the 13th? It's the God within you. You're the timekeeper. So the 13th is always kind of like that observer. But in our natural cycle of things, we have 13 full moons that make a calendar of seasons.
That's
right.
Yeah.
Maybe 13 chakras?
More than those, I think. We have a lot of ones that aren't spoken of.
Okay.
It does seem that 13 is where that's why is maybe considered an unlucky number, is because maybe some people wanted to hide the kind of aspect we're talking about, the mystical nature in the 13.
Yeah, it's
so
unlucky
now. Might not look at it.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm not trying to put words in Lori's mouth, but the Gregorian sort of said, hey, 13 is unlucky now. Like, in a sense, 13 has been more primal. So it's never really been unlucky. It's just that when we adopted the Julian or the Gregorian system, we wanted to align with 12. Therefore, 13 would be the unlucky. It would be, whoa, what are you doing here? Yeah.
He's coming in with a 13. What's he doing?
Yeah, we curse these numbers that used to bring us power, right?
Yeah.
And we start to worship numbers that we used to curse. So this is a movement in a lot of different ways. I think 13 also seems to relate to, if you think about the 20 digits, like you mentioned, 13 also could be seen as, so you've got 20 digits, fingers and toes, but then you have 13 bendy parts. You have 13 joints on your body.
Did not know that.
So if you count your neck, we're ignoring the jaw here, but if you count your neck, that would be like the one versus, your elbows, your wrists, your ankles, your knees, each hip. That's going to build you up to 12, and then you have your neck, which is 13. So if you think about it, 13 is even more intuitive, even more natural than 12 would be.
And if you think about that number, Friday the 13th, I think it was the day that they killed the Templars or the Cathars. It was one of the things, and they made that 13 really unlucky.
Yeah.
It was like the massacre.
And the buildings with no 13th floor.
Yeah, that's another weird one, isn't it? Because everyone on the
buildings.
14th floor is now cursed, but they don't get to admit it. Like they don't even get to get credit for being cursed, because if you live on a cursed floor, man, at least get credit for being like, bitch, I've been living on a cursed floor for 20 years.
I mean, right?
Yeah.
All of the curse and none of the glory.
Yeah, exactly. That always bothered me.
And it's interesting because, if the sacred number is 13, they would want to obscure it. And when I think about the spirals of like, this is a cosmic or galactic clock, it's a spiral. And we're spiraling through this Milky Way.
Theoretically.
Theoretically, the sun is like moving and we're following it at some kind of ungodly speed and not falling off. And we're having so all of our bones are spirals. And all of our actions, if you were attuned to your flow, Renee, stretch into spirit, that spirals of the hoops and the movements, it's all like spiraling.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Even the Aztec, believe it or not, the Aztec solar stone, sunstone, what people call the Aztec calendar, actually is a spiral. There are four suns, those little squares, and then the fifth one is the elevation. So you wind around the Aztec calendar in a spiral, and it gets you to the next level where it repeats, which is exactly what we're doing now with the Baktun, the Katun, the Tun, the Wanal, and the Kin, I guess, right? It's different things repeating and repeating and repeating in a beautiful cyclical donut that's a spiral.
It's like a spring, too.
Yeah.
It's spring for consciousness, perhaps.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes.
Very dynamic.
Serpent coiled. Coatl coiled. Coiled coatl.
I don't want to jump ahead here on you or anything, Lori, but that's the aspect that I think really fascinated me as the spiral's going, is because in kind of disconnecting from that aspect of it, I think we in some way disconnect ourselves from eternity in terms of just our psyche.
If we disconnect from nature, do not we disconnect from eternity?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if we only look at 12 and there's 13 moons, and if a woman has a cycle of a moon cycle, that's 28 days, and we're disconnected from truly what a cycle or a season is. So if this is the first day of the new year, being in Leo, Sirius showing up, this is a new moon in Leo today, you guys. So this is also hugely big energy, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very.
It's definitely, and I think that's the thing that probably the Mayans, and we can only conjecture, I guess, at this point, Lori, unless you had coffee with them this morning, and then you can tell us more about that. But that how that must have impacted the collective unconscious of the people versus the collective unconscious in people operating who've lived their lives in the Gregorian or Julian system, particularly with connection to nature.
Well, the same thing happened between Judaism and Christianity, because before Christianity was a thing, the Jews were we're a moon cult. They basically were a moon cult. So they were functioning in that 13 cycled system. And you know what? It was hard. It was hard for the locals to be like, wait a minute, is it spring or not? And then you'd have to go ask some Jewish dude. And he's gonna tax you a little bit. I mean, that's, what are you gonna do? You're trying to make a living.
Those were the Romans, James.
Yeah, well, it turns out that there's alms and then there's alms,
Right.
So yeah.
Where do you think the Romans learned it from, baby?
You had a system that people wanted it to be easier. And so really the solar calendar only ran one out because it was just cheaper calorically, where you didn't have to compute when was the last moon, was it before or after the equinox? And that's what throws the year off every time if you're tracking the moon, because you cannot reset until both those things have occurred. I think it's a new moon and the equinox at the same time. Then you have a new year. So, you've got a bunch of people that just don't know. And then you have a solar calendar that's just like, hey, I can fix all this. I just need you to adopt a friggin' leap year.
I mean, give me some duct tape. We'll put a day in February or take whichever,
Yeah. It's so fascinating. Go ahead, Lori.
Instead of pausing time, they they left out a day of a leap year.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And what I found out too is obviously that I'm sure that's not new information, but that's far less accurate. They're just trying to basically wrangle time back to fit their solar year completely, like you're saying, James, for convenience reasons. But it's still off the natural rhythms and always will be because they're not really accounting.
I love how I think this is really important too. There's a difference between claiming the day versus saying it just doesn't count. And the Mayas were claiming that day. That day did count. It definitely has a historical significance that it's considered unlucky. However, I would push up against that. And I would say that those days are feral. I'd love to hear your take on this, Lori, but I would argue that those days were people allowed to be feral. They get to return to the lack of identity for a little breather, just to remind themselves of why they rose from the breath of a crocodile to become this living fifth sun consciousness. Or as the Maya would say, the 13, it's the 13th Baktun is when we were born. So we're not made in the beginning of the Mayan calendar. We're made at this beginning of the 13th cycle of the Mayan calendar. So the ancientness of the world is much larger than we are. We're just sort of the final flower, the final flourishing that's kind of put on this thing. And the Mayans, I think, were the only ones that were like, these days are showing you the phases between these two different counting systems. One is counting days, but another is counting bundles of 20. And these bundles of 20 are much more human, probably because of our fingers and our toes. But having that human tracking of that, there's something called, go ahead.
Think about the phi, or a 5-pointed star, and the head, the two arms, and the two legs. We're made in the image. They have us inverted with our heads in the dirt and our legs up in the air, and we're run by our lower chakra, right? But because we've been taken away from nature, they tried to take us away from nature. But how many people do you know that know what the moon is, what phase of the moon is right now?
Right.
A lot.
You know a lot. Good for you.
Well, I mean, not a lot, but yeah.
I would say I'm surrounded by people that have no clue what's going on at the moon, unless it's full, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same here. Most folks, I just would say, don't care.
Well, we can see it. So, I mean, it's clear here. So,
but I don't think they look up, Annie.
Yeah.
I think when you start to look at the world through subsequent cycles of 20, you end up with a chewable version of time that you can digest and make sense versus the 365-day year that we try and sort of adapt to now. And you develop a system that becomes what looks like to be very complicated. But something that the Mayan did that no one else has ever done except for computers, so no one did this, is computers said on January 1st, 1970, this is epoch day 0. This is the first second of a new epoch. And computers have been counting from that number of seconds since that day, January 1st, 1970, the exact same way that the Mayans have been counting since August 11th, 3114 BC. That since then, they don't count seconds, they count days. But that every single day counts. There's not one day that's invisible. There's not one day that doesn't count, I should say. Some actually are invisible. But everything means something. And that system didn't just come through the Maya. It was the Zapotec, it was the Olmec, it was the Aztec. All of them decided, by the way, the Egyptians did this too. All of them decided we need a 20-base system. It's a very important number. 13 is crucial, but Aztec even went farther and said you have a 13 times 20, then you have a 18 times 20. The 18 times 20 gives us our solar year, which is why the Aztec have 5 hidden days.
Wow.
The Maya look at it through 13 and 20, which gives you hidden days that are not all progressively placed together, but as Lori just told us opening the show, come between each of these cycles, sort of like spacers, right? So it's a very different way of looking at exactly the same thing. And these are pristine cultures that all decided there's a 20-base system. Personally, I think that, yeah, there are toes and fingers, but I think mental construct, that there's a brain that only has a certain number of calories in a 20-base system, is about all the brain could handle when it came to interpreting different days, different names for things. Because keep in mind, if you have 20 unique days, you have to have everyone in your village has to be able to interpret 20 variations of a word. Do you see what I mean? Like a bird call.
Right.
So if you're going to be a sparrow and the sparrow has 20 different words, your brain is going to need how to interpret those 20 different symbols in the brain, and then you can build a society. So in my mind, the 20 comes from, this is the mental construct that people had that everyone could work in, like a bandwidth rate, a frequency that everyone could function inside of and still have a conceptual understanding of these things, which is ultimately more human than we can even imagine because it's spatially human. It's somatically, limbically, brain-wise human, if that makes sense. Speaking of which,
I just put in the chat, if you wanted to figure out by your birth date, you can figure out what one of those 20 is as your tribe.
Yep.
So, and there's a glyph for each of the things they had to remember in the 20. So that was really probably all that somebody could, if like in the Inca culture, they did not have a written language.
Right.
They have glyph, like a glyph or an image that made it has a story.
Yeah. That story is so crucial. And I didn't know this till today. I was prepping for the show because I was looking forward to this topic, Lori. I didn't know that the 20 days that the Aztec had named are the same names that the Mayas have. There's a tiny difference between like 4 of them, but basically it's the same word. It's the same concept. And if you were to look at each of these words and break them down in the brain, I think that you would find that each of them, God, how do I say this? But if you could imagine if we're functioning on a binary level where everything is white or black, that these 20 unique brain constellations have a different enough voltage to where all the minds can understand them as being separate, unique, and communicatable. So in a way, letters are sort of a proto number, almost a number that came before numbers, which is just the ability to frequency the brain to trigger or tickle the brain in one of 20 unique ways, which allows the people to be born, so to speak.
Yeah, it just kind of looks like, when you look at the gematria, you can lay out all different letters as numbers, and there's a code.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the code, have written a little song, or AI has written a little song for you guys, which is going to read that code. So I'm going to play that now. That's going to take 90 seconds to play, and let's hear that. And we will get back to talking about it. People in chat, you're probably going to need to mute now. And so if you want to hear it online. And you're listening to Dojo Earth Radio. Thanks for being here on Saturday Night Ride. These are the 20 days. Wait a minute. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me,
I always
Brad?
forget to do this. All right, guys, here we go. I'm going to play this again. And these are the 20 unique day names, kind of placed in a way where you can hear them all and having a relationship with them.
Ehgatl kali kwetspaling kotl mikistli mazatl tohtli atl itskuintli ozomatli malinali akatl otsalotl kwautli koska kwautli ollin tekpatl kiahuitl sochitl. Time marches on. Time marches on. Time marches on. Time marches on. Time marches on.
That's right. There are 20 of these unique flavor crystals that are launched in your brain that when the brain hears these flavor crystals, they're able to build a language. This is crocodile, wind, house, lizard, serpent, death, deer, rabbit, water, dog, monkey, grass, reed, jaguar, eagle, vulture, earthquake, flint, storm, flower. This is a mythological journey, a journey that has a story, and you, as a Nahuatl child, would hear the words that you just heard, although not with the beatbox behind it, but you would hear these words, and over time you would learn the song of the journey of these 20 days, 20 holders of sorts. And if you think about this as a mythology, I think you can start to understand how mythology itself is the opening of the mind to the world. That it would need this sort of tool to broadcast itself and communicate to its community. Brad, how we looking? You guys doing good in there?
Air's clear up here. It doesn't look like we have any turbulence or anything. The way's clear sailing as far as I can tell. I think Lori was going to take us next to further aspects of the calendar. Go ahead, Lori.
I wanted to say one thing real quick before you start talking about the next subject.
Cool.
Okay, so that music, I really loved it, and especially when it went to the drum beat or bass, whatever. So it was making me think about that movie Dune, how they put those thumpers in the ground and summon the sandworm.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the day at a time, and it made me think of the desert. Because there's, it is like there's no time in the desert because there's not like seasons, And so like if you were to think about these the words and that chanting that you could and thumping of the ground, you could summon like, not a sandworm, but like an earth energy, like the dragon lines. And that would open up, that would be a way for the collective to like download your memory and your song and those sounds. So
Yeah.
You heard it here
I just
Didn't
first.
James have that where he was?
You
I
heard it
know
here
you
first,
did
ladies and
because I
gentlemen.
remember stomping my stick on the ground 17 times.
19 times. Yeah, that's right.
19
stomps.
times. Sorry, I forgot the number.
No, that's all
already.
right. It blew me away because today when I was looking at this long count stuff, it was technically the fullest year is 19.19.19.19.19.19 because they have a zero-based system. So 5 19s in a row is sort of like the 99999 of our own numeric system now. And here we are having all this 19 magic going on. And I cannot help but go, hey, there's something to that. So, but anyway, I want to get us back to Lori because I'm loving this entire souffle.
Well, I don't want to stop us going into time and time warps and nines. Like nine's the magic number in the magic cube. You remove nine on any equation and you get the math correct. So to think that 19 is the one before the 20, that's something magical about that. So I wanted to enter into where we are, and we're kind of in this beginning age of this sixth sun. So yes, we've entered into that phase. We're early in it. The fifth sun was called Olin. I think that's how you say it. It was the era of movement and upheaval. And the transition began in 1991, and it dawned. It was like ending, like the beginning of the sixth sun was May 26th, 2021. What was going on then, you guys? And it was a blood moon, and I do believe it was an eclipse. So the sixth sun brings in feminine wisdom, quantum consciousness, dream time awareness, and not a single day, but an ongoing awakening. So I just wanted to say that we've been talking a lot in this dojo, this airship that we do, about flow state and creating art, and how there's like no time in that time. And then we try to cram it back into the 12 time, and time equals money. But there's a new time. We're in the sixth sun. So I wanted to bring that topic in and see if there was anything you wanted to riff on that one.
Well, I will jump right in on that, because to me, I that was one thing back when around 2012, when looking at that, the concept of time as art, it struck me then like a ton of bricks. And it was just like that. It was like an aha moment, because it was like, and it was childlike in a way, because it's, as children, we don't have that, the society and the program of that. But it was like, yeah, why isn't that how we live our lives? And we can tell all these sort of stories, but I'm just saying how powerful it was for me to plug into the fact that, yes, almost every moment we spend in our lives, speaking of the ones we are in now, right, is the world telling us the opposite. Time is money. Time is money. So if you're creative and you like to make art, you can't help but hold it against the time you spend doing it, as to say that there has to be some money value, or there's no value in it.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, Laura, do you think we're getting to a time where we learn to live in that flow state with living time as art, and that the money takes care of itself? If you understand what I'm saying, that we don't have to play that game maybe so much. Do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
I do understand that, and I do have compassion for all aspects of how people are in between. They have a foot in one world and the foot in the other. So it is about dreaming. It is about imagination. It is about that level of, I don't know, trust, grace.
Yeah, it is faith. Right?
Lori, when you were saying the sixth sun brings feminine wisdom, it made me think it is like this auspicious time. It is like there's a seeding of a new compassion, like a new compassion, so that there can be less fear, and therefore things will just flow to you instead of having to worry about the money and whatnot. But I think that there's fear about what that's going to be. I looked up on Wikipedia what the day out of time is on the Gregorian calendar, like things that happened. And one of the things that supposedly happened was in 1976, Viking 1 takes the photo of the face on Mars. I know. So that's like the fear calendar, because like the face on Mars to me is just kind of fearsome, because it's like an idea in your head. It's like, what is it? And I don't know.
So that's great, Mary Jo. And I think you're right on the head, because isn't Mars a masculine energy? And so it's
Yeah.
anchoring sort of that in there. And I think it's huge what you're touching on there about the fear.
Yeah,
I think
plus
a lot
the
of
fear
people
of
are starting to
Lucifer
let go.
and Lucifer's
Right.
Venus, right? So you've got
Yeah.
the fear of man and woman, because you've got the
Yes.
Luciferians are controlling the world, and then the Mars are fucking us. Yeah, that's a beautiful dichotomy.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are starting to let go of some of these, their fears, and they're not living in that fear-based center. And I think that's one of the big things that maybe we're seeing happen.
Well,
And it's Brad, I would say that the experimenting, I like to take an imagination experiment and say, if I imagine this and I experiment with letting go of the fear of lack or money or time is money, or I got to get a certain amount done so I can whatever. And then you see money coming in by the experiment of what you tried in your dream spell. I mean, that's how I run it.
Well, money
That's
is
awesome.
imaginary anyway.
Yes, but it's necessary because of, I mean, just to function in this world, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
and
I'll put it this way,
everything that's
I've tried to
valuable
figure
in
it
the
out.
world, everything that's real in this world is imaginary. That's my argument. Is
It
that
is.
is that it is, and everything in the world is imaginary, because
Yeah.
our time is money. I'm actually okay with, because it's the only way that we could be taught that there's value inside of a vibration with just a T, meaning T equals time, right? So we're now tracking the value, the nectar of something that occurs inside of a frequency spectrum, inside of a beginning and ending point. And this is, do you understand how technically surgical that is? That we are reaching into the same ocean and measuring nothing tangible, nothing that you can touch, but the sound of a fish between the pucker and the pucker is what we're calling value now. And this is such a deep, sophisticated thought that I like to think that the struggle that we have with money is simply our struggle with our plasma, and learning that we have a finite source of paint, which in my mind is a really good thing. It's truly what makes us artistic, which means that having what feels like the barrel of the gun of money facing you is never going to change. But what will change is your fear of death, your fear of going broke, your fear of not having any, and that relationship is what Lori's getting at, in the sense of how we move forward through this. So I don't think we're stepping away or like dismissing money. I think it's becoming more of, this is what the tangible currency of prana needs. And it's led us to invent digital smart transactions, which have our will literally placed inside the token, that I can now give you a piece of Ethereum that has the context that you will do this first. And if you do this first and it's verified through this other smart agency, this money is unlocked to you. That this is, excuse me, this is a magical plasma construction that has so much consistency that I can send you a locked box of money that only unlocks when something outside in the world happens. That is, and it's just such a, these are so creative. This is such a creative power, and it makes sense that we'd fear it. It makes sense that it would hurt us. It makes sense that we would get locked into spells of our own lack. I've been going through this myself a lot too, and I've noticed myself, I'm like, why are you worried? And I just catch that there's an angst crow on my back, right? It's on my shoulder, and I just catch it sometimes.
I think it might have to do because you're Gen X. So Gen X is like, their parents were boomers and their grandparents were very you really have to work for what you earn, like it, and you are ashamed if you don't have this certain work ethic. And then like my child, he's 16, and I mean, all kids are just not, they're not like that anymore. They're not born that way anymore.
Yeah, certainly.
But
But
I like that. I like that they're not. Yeah. I
Me
like
too.
that
I do too, and
the new world isn't like if you don't fucking go out there and kill the chicken and then clean up its blood and then pull all its feathers out and then put that on there and then fucking come in and like a psychopath and don't ever fucking cry, then you're a man. And I'm just like, what is wrong with you? Why are we murdering fucking chickens and trying to show how cool we are about, like, why can't we be sad? Why can't we be like, no, I don't want to fucking kill a chicken because you got me here. You advanced me to this point where I have a fucking soul now, right? Why is this bad, right? So yeah, it's.
I can see myself, but maybe for me, where I was coming on time is money. I think maybe for me it was because I understand what you're saying there, James. That perhaps it's the incorporation of the two, and maybe my reaction was just because I felt like, well, at the time is art is not given any attention, and so my reaction was to say time is money is the wrong thing. But kind of what you're saying, maybe it's like. They're both art, and maybe it's the masculine and the feminine integrating.
Yeah.
But I see what you're saying. Definitely.
Maybe money is plasma. Maybe that's the better way to start talking about it,
I like that money is plasma.
That makes sense.
That does. My grandmother was an adult in the Depression. So when I went to spend time with my grandmother, she was saving bits of string off of bakery boxes and counting every penny that she put in a book.
Yeah.
So that is in my DNA. That's in my memory to squander time, to waste money or to overindulge in material stuff when you see that this person was, every penny. And so it's kind of an interesting thing that this DNA, if we do this work with our DNA, then, like MJ's, her son doesn't have to have that.
Yeah.
That's so interesting how that plays. Cause I think I had the opposite, Lori, happen to me. Cause I feel like obviously my reaction is the other because I struggle on the other side. Whenever I see people wasting money, it's like, I don't get it. And I'm like, so I don't know where that comes from, but I think from my DNA, I've had a reaction in the opposite end where I lack in that sort.
Yeah, see, I get mad when I see like someone who's I'm judging them as they're doing well off, and they don't have like a plasma cutter and like every musical instrument or like all the paints you could imagine, and like they don't have like a floor jack or they don't have like, just like really basic things that I would like drool over, that I'm always like, how are you living a better life? Like, dude, you don't even have a plasma cutter. Like, what? Why do you have this giant garage? You literally have this 3-car garage, right? That has these giant barn doors on it. But by the way, you don't have a horse. Why don't you have a fucking horse, dude? What? Seriously, like, wouldn't that be like the first thing you'd get? Is like, yeah, it's my fucking horse. Look at him. Horse is awesome. That horse grazes in a giant like field of marijuana. That's how fucking rich I am, and no one's doing that. No one is doing that at all, right? In fact, you have people that are like, hey, I need to pay you to come cut my yard. And you're just like, what?
Yeah.
Why? Anyway.
I had friends with plasma cutters. So I was like, we're going to have like tribes of people that are the artists that have this. But it won't be in the garage where you pull up and all the yards have the garages and you never meet the neighbor.
Yeah. Yeah. We're budding artists is what we are. And we're going to need a giant economy underneath it to function. And we're going to need things like TikTok, I swear. We're going to need things like TikTok to build a plasma empire. And that plasma empire is just attention. It's just smart contracted attention. And that attention is the meta creature, the pupus, as it were, right? Telling us where it's going next. And you are not the pupus, but you are inside the pupus, and the pupus is going to pupate. You know what I'm saying? So we're watching society regurgitate itself, and we're like, is this really where we're going? It's like, yes, more Boy George, more pumpkin spice latte, just all the things you hear, and this is kind of beautiful that it's happening. I think it's giving us more ammunition to really triple down on the plasma itself. That what is truly entertaining in my mind now is the discovery of the originality of people. We're calling this reality shows now, but if you look at what TikTok is, it's I'm a cake decorator and I'm pissed at this other cake decorator because that other cake decorator stole my cake decorator. Like this is, I am in. Like seriously, you know why I'm in? Because this is a real person, right? Who's in her bathroom and she's, you know, she's wigging out. She's having a, and I'm there. I'm invested and I want to hear about the cake. And I don't need special effects. I don't need drama, you know. I need editing though, don't I? I need a short story that's digestible to where I don't have to fucking move in and meet you and help you move your couch just so I can watch this drama. So we're looking at one of the most addicting kind of honeys that I think humans have ever had, and it is the exposure to each other, to our raw selves like that. It's so beautiful because every day I turn it on and I see someone unique and I'm like, this person's out there. I never even picture them. Like couldn't even picture this person with the giant hoop earrings that says Coke Gazette bitching because she worked at a hairdressing shop in New York City for 3 months and the whole time just had this magical feeling that she was going to get paid and never did. And I'm like, I am so invested in this. Because this is the real pollen of this creation, right? It's beautiful here.
It's beautiful. It really is. It's like that's we were talking a couple of times before when we were talking about the AI, and you know, you kind of talk about everybody's projecting the fears of it. But isn't that interesting that in all this inundation of AI, that what because the same thing. What we're drawn to is authenticity, and in this form, it's taken. Yeah, I see the videos and stuff on YouTube, the ones that captivate me, just like you're saying, it's real people.
Yeah,
I could see an AI video, but it just doesn't keep me. I'm not engaged.
It's the same with Marvel movies. Like, you know, they're putting so much money into Marvel movies and I still haven't seen one, guys. And I'm not even trying to bash it. I'm just being honest. I haven't been like, oh my God, I got to go see that. I last time I did that was like Lord of the Rings. And I was like, what am I doing here? Like, this is painful. And it's only because I think I fell in love with nature. And because I say that all humanity is nature, I get to fall in love with that too. I get to say, well, yeah, this is what lichen does. Let's go fucking watch rocks turn to mold or mossy,
That's awesome.
Go get mossy because that's what people are. You're watching them get saucy, you know. You're watching them deal with a hurricane. You're watching them deal with an economy. You're watching them not have a plasma cutter and still tell themselves that they have a life anyway. Meanwhile, you're watching the people that have all those resources and they can't even hug each other at a Coldplay concert. Right? Like if you're the billionaire owner of an AI company, right? And you go to a Coldplay concert and you get broadcasted on the Trinitron or whatever. Wow, that's an old word. But you get put on the Ultratron or whatever. And now, because you're this super powerful billionaire, your entire life is gone. And I ask you, is that guy really free? Is that guy truly in charge of his art? Because this is not art.
No.
This is a man that's like, I don't want to be here anymore. I want to find a way to fall. And I think they set that up. I think a lot of rich people set themselves up for that because they cannot handle all that carpet, all that manicure, all of that removal of limitation. You see what I mean? It's the removal of limitation that kills the artist.
It's a burden.
The Vanderbilts were about the only, Gloria Vanderbilt was the only one I think that we got to watch. Okay, there's been many, but we really got to watch her struggle with the fact that she had too much money to be an artist. You really saw the pain of her. She ended up, putting naked doll bodies inside fish tanks and like oversaturating her prints. She couldn't even have a solid color anywhere. And she got drowned by all those choices, if that makes sense, because she had just such a limitless ability to grab any kind of tool that it ended up choking her or asphyxiating her as an artist.
Absolutely. And I'll echo that real quick because I used to have 9 guitars, and I can just tell you this. when you only have like, and I've got one. I'm not. It's not my point, but like you said, if I only had one instrument rather than 12 sitting around,
Yeah.
well, there's only one one to pick up. In other words, it more quickly. I think I would say is that gets me to express directly, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And you know, the time thing we're discussing, I think comes down to this, because if you don't even have a name for a day, you don't have anything to give value to it. But if your brain invents that it is to read, and not only is it to read, that it is to read, and it is the new fire ceremony, which means we're taking Doug and ripping his chest open and pulling his heart out and building a fire in the cavity that's inside. You are now remembering to read like you've never remembered a day before. So all of these things are invigorating the calendar itself, which is just pushing roots into your brain, neurons into your brain, pushing them into soil that's never been touched before by thought. And the only force that the roots have, ready for this, is drama, right? The drama of 80,000 skulls lined up on a wall. Guys, that's some drama. You are pushing some serious neurons there, right? It's going to be hard to come up with something more exciting in the jungle than Templo Mayor on the big day, you know? So all these things seem to have a purpose. All these things have such a crucial, the sacrifice is real because all those people were sacrificing themselves for the brain power that the survivors were almost like forced to drink, right? It's almost like the survivors were forced, like strapped into chairs with their eyes taped open, right? And they were forced to watch because the roots had to take hold inside the pumice of the brain. Thalmi Keesley, by the way, the compost, the dead matter that's not alive, is Thalmi Keesley. And so if you think about all the sacrifices are planting the roots in the Thalmi Keesley in the brain to come alive again. And all these names, rabbit, wind, crocodile, all these names are doing the same thing. And all these other cultures we found, Egypt is one, have this same Deca system, 20 base system, probably for the same neurological reasons, basically.
Yeah, I think that got to have a huge effect. That just that aspect of because doesn't that get the entire collective kind of on the same page at these periods? Like it's a recentering moment, but that it would get everybody basically back on the same page of a book, if you will.
Yeah.
To start each.
So one of the big differences between, so I'm more of an Aztec guy only because that's just what I've been studying, so forgive me. But one of the big differences between Aztec and Maya that I'm kind of embarrassed about, kind of being on Team Aztec, is that Aztec doesn't even consider anything after 52 years and day one. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as year 53. There's no such thing. And they have the exact same calendar as the Mayans do. They have the 20 base system, and then they have the 13 or the 18, depending if you want to look at years or agricultural calendar. But the Aztecs are like, look, after 52 years, we shut out all the fires in the village. For 5 days, there is no light. For 5 days, there's no food. For 5 days, there's no dishes. This is why I was saying they go feral. Because for 5 days, you don't have civilization anymore. And this is your core clearing hard drive space. You're defragging your consciousness so you can start over again and clear out the world. And I would argue that this is probably done due to a lack of jungle calories, a lack of protein sources causes the Aztecs to do something that no one else did, which is limit their calendar. Literally cut it off at 52 years and say, we're not thinking outside of this perspective. Literally every single thing is redone. All their fires are reinvigorated by the chest fire in Doug. That you can't even start a new fire until Doug's lungs Burning lungs are brought down into you and given to you as coals so you can start that fire again. So this is the birth of ritual, the birth of religion. You literally believe that the next 52 years only existed because Doug. That's the only reason why.
Thanks, Doug.
See how this really makes you remember how important it is? So
was Doug born on the first year of the 52-year cycle? Because think about a generation, and then it starts a new generation.
Yeah.
Maybe, in the Aztec, they only lived to be 52 or 50.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
It was like two snakes facing each other, a 5 and a 2.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Because, wow, Mary Jo, the Aztec solar stone, if you look at the bottom, it's two snakes facing each other.
Wow.
Coatlicue, the goddess of compost, is out of her neck are two serpents facing each other.
And 5 plus 2 is 7.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yesterday was the 25th, and that's like two snakes that are facing out.
Yeah.
That's great. See, those 5 days where everything is reset, it just happens to be that they fall on the same days, the same icons every time. It's just because of the way the cycle's built. So every time that the world resets, you go from reed to flint to house and to rabbit. You make this transition between those things, moving between those things. So the reed is the beginning of record keeping. Think Thoth. The flint is the learning to hunt, learning to kill. The house is the building of the home itself. And then the rabbit is the diamonds that allow you to rebirth. I'm talking about the
DMT.
Modern day tarot deck, the 52 card deck that we see. Americans call it just playing cards, but that would be the modern tarot, and that has the exact same 4 corners built into it that happens when you reset in a 52 day year. So the resonance is unavoidable, right?
My goodness. And you just mentioned the cards, and the suits are all numbers of 13 for an unlucky number.
That's even more of why that's so interesting, because it still has that same base root to it, so the journey into the underworld actually involves you going through Vulture.
Yeah.
It starts from Vulture, Kozkakuatli, then movement, Olin. So you start with Vulture, then you move to a day that literally is called movement, right? It's not an object, it's not an animal, it's an action. So you move from Vulture into movement, and then from movement into flint or knife, and then from flint or knife into rain, and then from rain into flower. Can you see how this is? You guys need to kill somebody? This is this is Doug. This is the death of Doug, is it not? Vulture, right?
Yeah.
Death, movement of death. The flint, the most famous part of this, the literally inside the Aztec sunstone, is this flint knife stuck through it looks like he's tripping acid, but it's technically he is. He's tripping a flint knife. That flint knife is splitting his tongue, setting into a bloodletting ceremony. So the flint knife is the very center, the very apex of this renewal is that act. And then what happens next? The rain, the dropping of the blood, the
fertilization of the new growth.
Thank you. And then finally, Oxli, the flower, the birth of the next cycle. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And it's all right there. And as long as you could remember those 20 days and 13, this is all you needed. That you needed a brain that could conceptualize 20 unique names and 13 unique numbers. And if you could do those, you could survive for 52 years, and all of us could have a civilization. The Olmecs knew this. The Mayans knew this. The Zapotecs knew this. The Aztecs knew this. The Nahuatl knew this. In fact, I don't think there's another way, because these cultures all did the same thing and kept the same thing. It's almost like there's no other way to even think about it. How does the brain react to these kinds of feelings, basically? All right, so we can take a music break if you guys want. Want to stretch your legs? Come back, Lori? Does that sound good?
Yeah. We have a couple more little things to go. So
Good. That's what I'm hoping for.
more stuff. Okay.
We'll do a little breather here. You're listening to Dojo Earth, and I appreciate you guys being here. And hey, it's a great time to maybe share this stream. Tell people come join us. Be great to have more on board listening. Welcome back to Dojo Earth Radio. We are here with our special guest, Lori, who's also part of the flight crew, so we're glad to have her back. And I hope I haven't been too mouthy, Lori, because I really want you to get to all your stuff, because like I said, I don't know enough about this, and so I feel very fortunate to have you here, and I want to thank you again for coming aboard and doing
If he
this.
does, Lori, tell me, I'll pull back on the throttle a little bit.
There you go.
Down.
That's why you're here, Brad. You're here to say, hey, James, why don't you shut your mouth? Why don't you do that?
Captain, I think they need you in the rear.
In the rear, exactly. Captain, I think you need to. Anyway, go ahead.
So, you know what's really wonderful about this opportunity is I don't need to have all of the information out. I think it's more important that the mix, airship is about the mix. This dojo is about the mix. So if we don't get it all, it doesn't matter.
Oh, after all, there's always next time, right, Lori? And we'll continue talking.
Yeah,
right.
It's like there's no wisdom is different than knowledge, and I just like the riffing. So let's talk about the time spiral. And I was thinking about these spirals in her body and spirals of time and the 52 and the 13, the 20 and all these numbers, but really what are they? But they're spirals of time. The Ophiuchus and the sky, it's like the missing 13th constellation, the snake eating its tail. We have this hidden in the sky, but it's not hidden. So there's a woman an author named Talia Toker. What a great last name. And she speaks of this time spiral, that there was 20 evolutionary waves from no life to now, and that time compresses each wave shorter and denser, and that the spiral accelerates to activate consciousness. And we're not waiting for the new age. We are the age arriving. And it reminds me of Terence McKenna and his psychonaut experimentation with psilocybin mushrooms and coming up with this time wave, that we were going to get to this place of novelty. And what do you call it, James? When
Peculiar?
Peculiarity. Right.
Peculiarity, yeah. That we're getting into this place where each person is peculiar and a channel themselves, or a uniqueness, a character of uniqueness. And it's one peculiarity to another peculiarity. And we're getting into this collapse of time in this spiral.
The peculiar in me sees the peculiar in you, right? Yeah, I love that. Yeah, good stuff.
And so I want to take a spiral back into time, because the first awakenings that I had to even this level of Mayan knowledge was when I read the Castaneda books. And it was before I ever thought I would do any indigenous studies, but how many people have Carlos Castaneda in their spiral?
I do.
Yeah. So I'll just speak on this and then I'll open it up again, because I think it's so cool. The Castaneda and the Predators of Time. So in that book, Don Juan spoke of the flyers, and they gave us their mind to trap us in linear time. And this book was, these were written in the 70s. He went down as this person into these indigenous mud hut culture of Mexico, and met with these people that didn't have the suitcase and the education that he had, and his mind was constantly being blown. But what Don Juan spoke to Carlos about was that these flyers, they fed on anxiety, fear, and the past future tension. And that freedom comes from stopping the world and reclaiming our luminous body. So to exit the false time, we must enter into awareness. So with that, I'd like to open it up again to any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think totally the that's why it's it's simple when I'm speaking of awareness here in terms of the job or the goal. When you first start seeking to understand, it's like you want grand action, but the awareness is the thing that you need, because when he was talking about the flyers and the supremely maneuver that they did of tactically giving us their mind, and it's the mind, like you say, filled with anxiety of, I think what it said, being discovered at any moment. And isn't that kind of our anxiety in terms of in public of being authentic in our peculiarity? Like what limits us sometimes is that anxiety that comes, I would say, from that mindset, that predator mindset, that someone's going to discover me as a fraud. But that perhaps, I'm just speaking for me here, that I'm starting to learn, I don't think my peculiarity is a fraud. It's the fact that my anxiety is wrapped up in something else, and that's what I'm protecting. And that anxiety is to be accepted by society. But in truth, our peculiarity, our authenticness is not fraudulent, and it's just that we've had this overlay of the mind of we can't let it be seen, because if we let it be seen, we'll be discovered, a la like the flyer. But in this case, The flyer's doing it for a very different reason, right?
Man, Brad, you were
The
blowing.
feed.
It sounds like it reminds me of, well, for one, when James was saying it could be a day of wildness,
Mhm.
it made me think of Lilith going out to the desert, where it's wild, meaning like there is no time, she's kind of like not in the picture of the same time as humans are. So
Mhm.
so she's apparently got demons, but I just think that sounds like those flyers. Like because, I think that her story is about not being able to be authentic or
Yeah.
something, and that's about peculiarity. So
Mhm.
Yeah, this.
And that anxiety is not necessarily, I don't think necessarily, I'm not saying that we wouldn't have natural anxieties, but let's just say that it's misplaced in those areas that it
Yeah.
makes sense. Good. Yeah.
So it. I'm just blown away because we talk about a lot about lying and how it's a creative act here and the placebo, and that we feel one of the reasons why we feel like a fraud is because the Mayans are telling us because we're dreamers. We're dreamers living in a world that says you can't be a dreamer. So we feel like a fraud because people are going to see that we're actually doing the dreaming, right?
Yeah.
So our living fantasy is our nakedness, guys.
Yeah.
You are afraid of being seen naked because you are afraid to be caught being a dreamer, being one
So
of these spiralists, right? One of these divine spiralists. I'm going to stop talking now, but guys, this is so dope.
And-
I freaking love
That's
it.
And
good
this-
stuff, Gavin.
This Don Juan, what he speaks of these reptilian overlords. And I was like thinking about James's work on the brain. And I was like, that they're these flyers, but in this predatory mind, it's the pre-mind. It's the mind that keeps us safe in a culture. And it feeds on our emotional energy. So like it's good to have the reptilian overlord within us, right?
Yeah.
It gives us a predictory orientation to keep us, our innate feeling of falling off a cliff.
Yeah.
I think it's universal.
Yeah.
I
And
think-
it is, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think you're absolutely right that's that it is necessary for naivety, right? So if you're just
Yeah.
in all your innocence and naivety, you're just going to get destroyed. And I do think it's necessary to protect us as we're growing, but then, there's a time where it's done its job, and that point it does become, a prison if you want to think of it like that, because it has served its purpose and it's time to.
Well, it's also,
grow.
it's also like a gestational seed. So
Mhm.
we enter into matter and we focus on survival because we're gestating. The survival builds us branches to have comfort and love or understanding. All these other complex emotions are being built on top of it. So these things are more important in the sense of, how do I put this? See, if you go back to the idea that we're looking at an invisible piece of energy inside of an invisible portion of time, and we're saying that has value, how do we get to that? We have to slowly move through modes of survivalism, of food, of clothing, of shelter, of these concepts that we have of what we need to parasympathetically put us into the comfort zone to start thinking in these modes, which really is just growing a kind of plasma that comes from a comfort or a relaxational state that only exists when you develop this magical shell, this plasma, to associate into the world. So we are being slowly taught to associate into things that are non-physical.
Yeah.
Time is teaching us that, and it's showing us that there is a way beyond it too, right? It's first it teaches you to associate into time, because time itself is already nothing physical. And that is exactly the same direction you would need to pierce through the veil and to associate into what is beyond that. The same way that we use pain to associate an awareness, right? So we're no longer, I am pain. We now say my knee hurts. That's profound as fuck, right? That's being outside of the pain itself. So too would we get here in this kind of spiral journey.
And then I was thinking, Doug, Doug, death,
Mm-hmm.
there he is. He has stepped towards there's no fear of death if death is celebrated every 52 years. So there's this level of being authentic in, that secret, like we think time goes on, that we can hold history into some kind of bound thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're dreamers, and the Nagual, that was like the Don Juan spoke of,
Mm-hmm.
the Nagual, or you became a lucid dreamer. What's more real, your dreams flashing in from one world to another, or this bound time that we're in?
Exactly. Yeah. And we wouldn't be able to see this plasma until we learn to even see plasma. Do you know what I mean? Like before you could even see that, you would need the brain power of 20 distinct days of numbers, of sex, of drugs, of rock and roll. I mean, think about it. Of every single cultural experience that has happened to you is the spiral, the very spiral that's opening the portal for you to see this plasma. And what you see is where you associate. So you move yourself into that because you've learned this subtle energy, this plasmatic form of identity.
Do you know, James, I think it's so funny that you speak of plasma and then you talk about the person who has the plasma cutter.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. I didn't realize that. Yeah.
That's what he's like. Why can't you have a plasma? Who wouldn't have a plasma cutter? I mean, what are you doing with your life?
Yeah.
Is plasma cutter code for something? Like
No,
it
no,
actually cuts metal. It
literally
actually cuts metal with a laser cutter.
Okay.
Yeah. Like
Oh, now I
3/4.
don't feel so old. Thank you, Mary.
Yeah.
Mary Jo.
3/4
I
inch
don't think I
steel cut as tiny as you can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can make any shape with like steel. It cuts through steel with like a little bead of light.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you guys were saying like a plasma cutter can just walk in and ignore like some stupid vibe over here. 'Cause
Yeah.
they have
No,
like
in my mind, the way that we master time and space is you're going to need a plasma cutter, and you're going to just do cool things with it. So,
Mary Jo, for what it's
forklift
worth.
license is another part of this, by the way. If you're a licensed forklift operator and you have a plasma cutter, I think you're basically like a 17th level cleric.
I think you need to operate one of those diggers too, whatever those diggers are.
Front loader, yeah.
Yes, front loader.
Yeah.
Big
Yeah, I
loader.
think you're right.
Then you could use the plasma cutter to cut open a time capsule.
Yes. Yes.
Although, like I was saying, Mary, from now on, I'm using plasma cutter just the way you meant it there, and I'm gonna
Yes.
my name plasma cutters out in the world. It'll be an inside joke that only we in this room know.
Right.
Oh,
I think that's very interesting, though. What I wonder is, what is people's experience as far as like their feeling toward death differentiating? Because I think that's very big in our culture. I kind of think it's one that maybe collectively we're starting to move away from, just the fear of death in the sense of, the classic sort of, eternal death or whatever, one and done life or this kind of way. But how much does it affect a whole society's relationship with death when it just doesn't seem like it would be, it could be, I want to say crystallized. That's not the word I'm looking for, but the way in our culture, it tends to be, again, talking about the idea that people are kind of have this fear in them that when this body dies, that's it. They're over. Anything and everything that they ever thought they were is gone. And yeah, that's just the kind of aspect I do wonder psychologically how people would approach death.
I think that binds us to time.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
I've you guys totally had one foot in death. I mean, and I can tell you that after that, then really quick, I just, you snap into, I want to be here and I want to heal. And so then but then like the thought of death now is definitely not that hurdle that was before I knew what death was like. Because I mean, I was really it's like, so when you do chemo and you let that poison in your body, like I looked at it as a ritual, like I was eating the fruit of death, sort of, because I was intaking and I did it like I made it in my mind, like I'm gonna accept this poison in my body and become ground zero, and then see what happens. And then you're not afraid of death in the same way that you were before.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Do you see time different?
Yes, definitely. Because, you just, once you face death and you're not sure if you're going to be here, then it totally rewires your brain. It's a shock. Like I still live in that shock wave from that happening to me. But it's also healing. It's weird how you can be shocked and healed at the same time.
But it
Yeah.
is, and it's totally how the same way that, like, pain works. Like we talk about that, right? It's that what it actually accomplishes on the back end. It's the
But
gift in there, right?
Yeah, but I was, it made me think. I wanted to say this. I was listening to James True live, and you said,
Who's that?
I wonder. You said, hold on, give me 1 second. You said, start having shame about the right things. So instead of being ashamed about a fear of death or whatever, like I can tell you, start being ashamed that you ever doubt yourself in the first place about your own healing abilities and about what's possible, and don't have doubts about that. Have shame that you ever doubted that. Like, because seriously, it's real.
Yeah.
It is.
Healing is real.
Yeah. This is
I
why I was
really think
telling
that only the
people. This is why I was telling people to wear tails in public. I mean, it sounds silly, but it's like if you stand ground for your imagination in public, you
Yes.
are defending something that you've never defended before, and that there's no way that self in you would not fucking see that.
Wow.
Right.
So yeah, I keep preaching, sister, because fuck yeah, man, this is what gets us there. And I shame myself when I catch myself pretending that reality is some objective place. You hear me do it all the time.
Yeah.
Because
But
I want that nimbleness to remain as the primary state.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my heart opened up a lot. I've been like ever since I had a baby, like that just exploded my heart. And then the death experience opened it even more. It's really crazy. Birthing.
Do you treat each day like is there a sense of urgency about things, or is it the opposite, that it's not urgent anymore? Like,
So-
are things need to get done before you leave, kind of a thing?
Oh, no, I recentered myself and made it where, like, I don't know, like the outside world clearly bothered me about so many things. So, always having this anxiety, and you can't have an authentic moment when you're trying to be a parent because you can't believe you're sending your kid out to that world. So what it did is I had to become the spiritual center of my own home.
Yeah.
I just had to realize it, and I make things that matter to me a habit so that they become the system.
So you're the hub of the wheel, in other words.
Yes.
Yeah, the
yes,
belief spoke. And this is cosmology. This
yes,
is what it's all about. And we're living in a world that insists that beliefs don't matter and that none of this stuff's important, and that shame is something you should be trying to avoid instead of honing in on and listening to. Because I do that too. I shame myself all the time. I use it as a trajectory. It's a reins on a horse, you know. If you can pull it this way, it's going to go this way. So why not use that, you know? Yeah.
And if you're honest about it, definitely points you in the direction you need to address, I would say, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or that you're wanting to address, because that's why it's there.
Yeah. In my mind, I fear that I'm not, my biggest fear, and I do have angst all the time. I am born with angst. Like it just, when I wake up, I have that. It's been naturally taught to me physiologically. I'll say that, but also I use it as I only have so much time and I have to get this stuff out. There's just so many things that I want to leave in the world. And so I feel myself always stressing about that. I'm always running hot. My engine's always running very high RPM because I'm literally trying to just create the fuck out of every time moment that I can find. And it's probably not healthy. It's probably not even necessarily the most optimal, but you're just watching a kid that is so immersed in play that he can't help himself. I'm drooling at this point when it comes to how I treat time like that, especially, to be honest, in the position I'm in. I literally have people every day that are like, dude, we want to see you create. That's amazing. This is such a rare thing. Why would I not take it this seriously? Do you understand what I mean? Like why would I not do that?
Keeps your brain nimble.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. So to me, it's always about how do you crunch this? How do you produce, put the cake out, put it on the conveyor, you know, even if it gets incinerated, your job is to make the most beautiful plate right now and just send it out.
Just like in the book.
Yeah, exactly.
The desserts.
Yeah. And that's why I wrote that, because that ultimately is teaching you about time, isn't it? That this is the only moment. And if we can find an airship called the Silver Pegasus that treats you in a way that shows you that time is this mortal, if you were comfortable, if you were parasympathetic, you can be in the restaurant that has death in front of you and still feel alive, feel more alive.
And be able to eat and digest.
Exactly, yes. Lori. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Because you're not really who yourself is until you're in that parasympathetic ventral self, right? Where your face is activated, your chest is activated. And honestly, where we are singing, I really do think this is supposed to be musical, that all of us are supposed to be singing all the time, like an imaginary sort of song. And that this is our natural state, to just always be air guitaring the fuck out of the moment, you know, on our way to the mailbox, right? The dramatic reveal of, is there something inside, is a giant symphony, a missing of dilation, right? Of dilation berries that are being left on the trail.
Well, your dilation of me trying to get the Black Eye Club and the T-shirt, I'm like, it's lost in the mailbox. And a mailbox of time, it delivered to my other address. And
no, I just got it today. It came to me.
For me, it's very dilating. I've been driving to my old home trying to break into the mailbox, and anyhow, it's been a wonderful experience. Do not send anything out, because I do believe the mail people have identified it. I live in a very small town, and they know they delivered it, but I just can't.
Sounds really symbolic. Really, what does that mean symbolically, Lori?
No doubt. I've thought the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Mailbox. Kind of funny.
I went into the gated community. I had to break into the gate. I had to try to get into the mailbox. It's just a really interesting thing.
You know, mail theft is considered a felony in the federal level and taken very seriously, Lori. So I want you to be sure that, you know.
Yeah. I'm glad I got to do this last presentation before I got locked up.
Oh my God.
The Black Eye Club and my Reptilian Overlord T-shirt.
That's right.
Anyhow, I'm glad I'm getting it. I think I'm going to get it. I think it might have went back to the post office.
Okay.
And I'm going to go and check with Ruthie on Monday. So
it's worth waiting for.
Oh, thank you. I didn't mean to turn this into
no, but
no pedestals.
I think time is interesting, and I have like maybe just a couple more things. I don't know where our time is for our time, and so
we're an hour and 33.
an invocation, and I have a couple of unifying threads to close up my little presentation. Could I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Or
Yeah,
totally.
please do.
Okay. So some of your unifying threads is we just went through that day at a time, and that was a cosmic pause. We learned a lot about cosmic pauses and how they can reset with Doug and the 52-year cosmic pause of 5 days of chaos.
Doug.
A chance to exit the grid and return to spiral time.
Oh, nice.
It's time to plant the seed of the sixth sun, because we're in that seed year. And this is like really cosmically dilating. And to disengage from the false mind, to deactivate our personal power of our uniqueness, our quirkiness, our peculiarities. So in 2025, the sky has changed. Saturn and Neptune is Aries, Uranus and Gemini, Jupiter and Cancer. We've had a shift from earth and water to fire and air. The astronomical ignition for collective awakening. And today, this day, July 26, 2025, the new year of the yellow resonant seed. So that's where we are. And it is so wonderful to exit the time machine, to re-enter the spiral, to dance this. And we are not waiting, we are arriving. So in a closing invocation, would you like to join me in that?
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Okay. The kin of the stars, the walker of the spiral.
The kin
of the stars, the walker of the spiral. I lay down the cloak of compression and lift up the wing of becoming. I bless the fifth sun. I honor the flyers by refusing to feed them. I gather my light body. I step outside the grid. I live the time of my soul, 13 tones and 20 faces. One heartbeat echoing the stars. May all time be art. May we dream a new sun into form.
Wow.
Thank you.
Good stuff, Lord. Thank you.
It's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah.
Just
really
gorgeous.
Really well said,
I
Lord.
didn't mean to shut our convo down, but I thought we had that hour and a half that I was kind of checking in on for maybe the co-pilot was checking on that.
Well, the co-pilot is still deferring to the captain in terms of the workings of the ship. He's not going to take full flight.
That's right. There's no mutiny. Yeah, there's no mutiny yet. Right? Yeah, there's no mutiny yet. Well, it sounds like a great closing note, but if people do have more, I will definitely keep it flying. But otherwise, this is a great send-off note, I think, too. So
yeah, I agree. As co-pilot, I think the weather's been nice and the flying's been nice, and I have enjoyed the company on the ship with everyone. I'm so glad that y'all joined us tonight for a ride.
Yeah, thank you.
Outside of time and space.
Thank you so much for riding, and thank you all for listening to another wonderful Saturday Night Ride. And we hope you have a wonderful evening. And I'm going to play this one more song, and we'll see you next time here on Dojo Earth.